Hey everyone, it's Bradley. Welcome back for another video. Today's video, I'm going to look at the Blichmann Pro Mill. This is going to be a long-term review after having used this mill since 2020. Research it, mash it, boil it, ferment it, drink it, analyze it, share it. Home brewing is good. All right, if it's your first time here, or your second or your third, or if you're here, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the video, it helps me, and we really appreciate it. So like I said a moment ago, I've had this mill since 2020. I originally got it with the largest base, and I've always had the large hopper because I'm Bradley. The large base and the small base are really identical, it's just one is bigger, one is smaller. The large base itself will fit kind of a larger tote. I do not have one on hand, unfortunately, but it'll fit a larger tote, and that's with the base plate installed. I'm using both of them with the base plate just because it helps contain any stuff that drops out, keeps it off the floor. It's easier to clean that than the floor in my instance, but the stands will definitely work without the base plate. I've also got both of my stands equipped with the casters. The casters is one of the things as far as an option, you know, the wheels work, they work well, but I don't care for the casters that Blichmann is using. Nothing to say negative about them. I just personally, it's negative, but I don't like them. Recently, I had the opportunity to switch to the smaller base. This is something that in the new brewery, I really needed the extra room, and it's actually a significant space savings, if you will. It still fits the same Rubbermaid 10-gallon tote that I've been using as my grist bucket for years. These things work great. I'll link below in case you're interested. The bases themselves both go together extremely easy. They're really simple to put together. Just get the stuff pretty much tight and line it all up. They go together in a snap. They do support the mill nicely. They are really mobile with those casters. Once again, they do definitely do the trick. It's nice to have a complete solution. The base's top and bottom boards are MDF. I think Blichmann has used MDF, well, number one, because it's stable long-term. It also has some significant sound deadening capabilities, so I think that helps absorb any vibrations or rattles that may be caused by the mill's drivetrain. I do think it would be cool if they switched to like a bamboo or something and laser engraved it with some useful grain things on there. I don't know, I think it'd be a cool touch, not necessary, but I just think it'd be sweet to include that in the mill itself. One other thing I wish that was included either on the cart or on the mill was a provision to wrap the cord. I myself just coil it around the mill, but it's just one of those little details. It would be nice if there was a dedicated spot to coil it. Not a big deal, not a deal breaker, but it's one of those little things that I think would make the product even more user-friendly. Let's get into the mill's drivetrain really quickly. So it has a 1/2 horsepower, 120 volt AC motor, and it is absolutely a beast. It also has an integrated fan on the back of the motor to ensure that this thing can crush for hours and hours and hours. But honestly, its throughput is about 12 pounds per minute, which is pretty insane. It really chews through grain rather quickly, so I don't see this being on too long, even if you're using this at a pro level personally. The mill is definitely custom designed by Blichmann Engineering. From the motor and drivetrain, these to me look like they are one-off parts. I suspect it's on a Warn drive. Maybe Blichmann can comment and let us know what kind of drive gear setup it's using. I popped off a cover here, and there is a big keyed shaft on this thing. It's massive. It makes sense that it's got a 1/2 horsepower driving it. I think it's operating around 120 RPMs is what the rollers are operating at. Speaking of the rollers themselves are 3 inches around and 6 inches long. That'll make anybody happy. Trust me, I know. They have a micro fluting, which kind of helps them to gently open the grains, the husks. It leaves lots of husks intact when it does it. It will also help with grains of different sizes as well as different moisture contents. These are two things that can affect grain crush. I myself have been using this mill exclusively since I got it. I really do like the toolless adjustment on the side here. On the side, you're able to pick from like 0 to like 18 or 19 or 20 range of adjustment. I personally crush between 8 and 9. I'm undecided where I want to be at this point. That's where I'm crushing at. It works great. I find that my mash and sparge on both the systems that I'm currently brewing on go flawlessly with this setup, and it's just really nice to be able to have a toolless adjustment to know that this is a gap size I like and repeat it every single time. If I am crushing something like rye or something like that, I will crush it a little finer, or wheat, I might crush it a little more for sure. And it's just convenient to know I can just go down to 7, and then straight back to where I want to be for the next brew. There's no feeler gauges, nothing like that. It did come with an adjustment kind of gauge in the beginning. I want to show it for video, but it's misplaced here somewhere. But trust me, it's just, I believe it's a stainless steel or galvanized card. You slid in between the rollers and use that to kind of zero everything out when you initially set it up. Mine has moved about 600 miles with me, and the movers were not gentle. That was me who moved it. I wasn't gentle, and I plugged it in after it sat, fired right up, and crushed as I expected. So that's really a testament to the mill's overall quality. The rollers themselves are gear driven. There's no belts or chains. I think that a geared drivetrain is honestly going to be really reliable as far as drivetrains go. They require less service. They're not going to break. They're not going to snap. So that is definitely a pro in my book. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would really appreciate it. It is quieter than other mills I have tested, but honestly, in my use case, that really hasn't been a big deal because it's not running that long. I typically do about 45 pounds of grain through it, sometimes less, but that's where I am. And I've probably run somewhere around 1,500 pounds to 2,000 pounds of grain through the mill, and it has performed flawlessly. We all know that if, beer is mostly grain water, right? So crush is key. Single vessel systems can be especially fiddly when it comes to recirculation and sparging and stuff, and a good mill will help you get that dialed in for sure. Who's this mill for? Well, it's definitely for spoiled YouTubers like me. It's also for any home brewer that is really serious about crushing grain, especially if you're using a bigger batch size, a larger volume. You're definitely going to appreciate its high capacity. I myself have mine set up with the 60-pound hopper. I think it's the way to go personally. It'll take either a standard American or a European bag, no problem, with lots of room. It's just far more convenient for me not to have to fill the other hopper, which is 17 pounds, which is honestly good size for the industry for what's available on the home scale. That's a nice size, but I personally would just rather dump it in and not worry about it. This hopper is bigger and taller. In my opinion, it doesn't take up much more room. It's just more useful. And like I said, it's nice to be able to throw in a whole bag or a whole, grain bill and not worry about it. Walk away and do something else and know when it's done, it's done. On the mill itself, it has a switch. It's a 3-position switch. It has off and on and reverse. In my testing, I've never had to use the reverse for any reason, unless I want to make sure it's fully cleared of grain. Sometimes I'll bump it in reverse to see if I can fully clear it. If you are crushing extremely fine, you may have to hit reverse and then hit forward to get it to engage again. I honestly don't understand that use case, but it is something that may affect you depending on your gap size. But for me, in my regular kind of brewing use to stuff I'm doing, it's not been an issue. You can start it dry, you can start it full. It just seems to chew through grain no matter what at a very high speed. This mill definitely is a pro level product. I would say it's great for anyone from maybe all the way up to 5-barrel, all the way down to whatever size system you're using. It's just the cost, whatever you can justify to put this in your brewery. It also comes with a canvas integrated dust chute. And this is super useful stuff because not only can the dust be flammable, if you're OCD, it gets all over everything and just makes a mess. And it's gross. I don't like the dust. It is what it is. So I've got a lid on my 10-gallon bucket. I cut a hole for that. I feed that in there, and honestly, it contains all the dust. Doing that with this setup, I can fit about 45 pounds in there before I have to kind of smooth stuff around. It doesn't back up. These 10-gallon Rubbermaid buckets will hold about 50 pounds of grain in my experience. Don't tell John Blichmann, but I'm running my mill without the finger guard. I've decided that, you know what, it's just don't let him know. Don't let him know. But I have decided to take it out. I find it's easier to clean. It is more dangerous. I have the larger hopper, so you have to get your arm deeper inside to access it. There's not much danger of getting your beard stuck in there, but you could. It's probably not recommended, but I have pulled it off originally for the purposes of getting video B-roll footage, but now I just run it without it because I like to live dangerously. Just if John Blichmann catches me, he's gonna be disappointed. I've also have a few other videos on the channel of other mills. One I recommend, one I'm unsure of, one I do recommend, and then this one, obviously I am recommending. I think it's an awesome mill. It definitely does everything as advertised. It's absolutely beastly. It chews through grain like no other, and it is consistent. Consistency is key in your grain crush. It really helps. It's all about when you're mashing in and doughing in, you get that perfect crush. You know everything's gonna be fine. You're not gonna have a stuck sparge, none of that stuck mash. It's all gonna be just a little bit easier and a little bit more convenient. And honestly, that's what a lot of this high-end equipment is about. At the homebrew level, at the pro level, you want something that's gonna work day in and day out, be dependable. I honestly think that this mill is exactly that. And we also all know that Blichmann will stand behind the product. All right, well, that's the Blichmann Pro Mill in a nutshell. This thing is awesome. If you can't tell, I do recommend it if you have the budget. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Remember, home brewing is good, and I'll see you real soon. Oh yeah. I mean, it's a mill. It's nicely built, nicely designed, works. It's here's that finger guard. It's out. I'm not putting it back. This thing is just, it's a beast. Everything about it's beastly. Hell of a product.